Mambo Vipi, what's happening? My name is Anyiko Owoko and I am a lover of arts, culture and everything African. And here we grant you front row access to your favorite celebrities, creators, the biggest personalities and industry experts. Come with me, you're now a VIP. This is what to expect on this week's episode.
The agreements are usually typically 3 to 5 years. Why at least 3 years is because it takes at least 18 months before you can start seeing royalties come in. So it wouldn't make sense to sign a 1-year deal for publishing. So at least 3 years for it to make sense.
You're being scammed. I know where the word publishing has seen it. In DistroKid, CD Baby, all these online platform, you'll see distribute your music and then there's a publishing thing they want to give you. What these companies are doing, because the CMOs in those foreign territories are required to submit publishing splits and mechanical and publishing royalties, they will come and tell you we are going to collect for you your publishing share. But one thing they're not telling you is join a CMO. Where are they going to pay those publishing? Where are they paying them? It's bullshit. They're just pocketing that money.
Copyright also gives you moral right to your work. The moral right means 1, you must be attributed whenever your work is used. 2, you can object to your work being used in a manner that you don't want. What is the use? What is the extent of the use? And remember, for me as an artist, the use must be in line with my brand and in line with my values. So if you don't ask and you use and it is out of line with this, then that's another bigger problem you have created.
We're just entering a second part of our discussion from what we had on the podcast last week, which was licensing your sound for ads, film, and TV. If you haven't noticed, we're now deep in industry conversations regarding music, TV, film, fashion, and that's the essence of this season of my podcast, VIP Access. We're diving deep into the industry issues, and this season of my podcast is also in collaboration with Goethe Institute and, of course, the Industry Talk series. Since 2024, we've been hosting various industry talk events, convening artists, music executives, lawyers, curators, producers, brand leaders, and cultural practitioners to move beyond passion and artistic expression into the practical and future-facing dialogue and spotlighting industry issues. These sessions continue to explore the full creative value chain, from songwriting and composition to film and TV, music licensing, distribution, streaming economics, to digital entrepreneurship, event curation and production, safety planning, and building more inclusive spaces in the industry. It's a lot. We still have a lot of more amazing episodes to roll out. Now back to our topic of discussion of this week. What makes a song attractive for sync? How should artists prepare their catalogs for licensing? What do producers and brands actually listen for when selecting music? And how can artists position themselves to be discovered, trusted, and fairly compensated or paid? In the first episode of this conversation, we unpacked the fundamentals like what licensing really is, how publishing and royalties work, and why artists must think beyond immediate income. In this episode, we are moving from theory to practice and looking at building relationships with publishers and supervisors, and also understanding how licensing fits into a broader career strategy. This conversation is about writing with the end in mind. Our panelists will break down the realities of licensing from every angle. Please help me welcome Shiro Mwendwa, who has worked with Share Publishing Africa, Eric Musyoka, the award-winning producer and sound engineer, and Sharon Chahale Wata, who's the deputy director at the Kenya Copyright Board. Let's get into it.
You talked about a music supervisor, and I think a lot of us have seen that when you're watching films, series, you see music supervisor. So could you break down the role of a music supervisor? Do you know if we have a couple in Kenya, like for instance, for Share Publishing? Do you work with music supervisors from the region? What's their role? And how do artists find a music supervisor?
So a music supervisor is a very important person or entity in the music licensing world. Not only are they important for the artists, but they're also important for production companies, for the film world as well, because this person is the one who stands between the two. They stand between the creators, the artists, and they stand between the production companies and the filmmakers and the like. So a music supervisor is the person who deals with all things music for a production. So to answer Anyiko's question, I don't think there are music supervisors in not just Kenya, in East Africa.
There are. Patricia Kihoro has supervised for a couple of things.
I think maybe she was called upon to. Then maybe there's some who can do it. But for example, in South Africa, Nigeria, the music supervisor, this is like your full-time job. Like they are known. Like there's one we work with a lot in SA called Mark Algranti. So people like that, this is all they do. They do music supervision for everything. If it's a commercial, the agencies know it's Anyiko is a music supervisor, that's who I'm going to. So what the music supervisor does, if it's, for example, a commercial, they sit down, for example, with the agency. Sometimes they come and they find the rights holder or the publisher who represents the rights holder. But in that capacity, often you'll find they'll be in favor of the agency and the brand. At least if you have a publisher, now the publisher also stands firm and fights. And then, so sometimes the brand will come, they're not sure what song they want to use. So the music supervisor it's someone who has a wealth of knowledge of music, of diverse types of music. It can't just be someone who's very limited in the genre of music or the kind of music they listen. You have to be very broad. So they also help advise them and go like, okay, maybe for this kind of song, they do suggestions. Then sometimes a brand or agency will be like, oh yeah, cool. So then they'll help them find the song. They even go as far as connecting them with composers. They have like a pool of composers they know. Maybe they know Musyoka, so they'll be like, we can't find a song we like. The brand doesn't find a song they like. Please come and create something for this particular advert. And like, so a music supervisor is so integral because they help streamline the processes. Because I know in the film world, a lot of the time, they don't think about the music until the end or when they're in post-production. Correct me if I'm wrong, Musyoka. Yeah?
True.
Until it's in post-production, towards them when they finished filming, and then they're thinking, okay, now we need to start going into post-production. And it's not supposed to be like that. That's why this conversation is called Start with the End in Mind. The end is the music. So you're supposed to start with that thought. Start with the end in mind. So you need to begin the film thinking about what kind of music you want. But often the mindset of the producer, the film director is not in that space at that time. Hence where the music supervisor comes in. I'll give an example of a project I did recently in South Africa. I worked on, I don't know if you guys have seen on Netflix, the 4-part series Umjolo. You guys have seen it? Yeah, so my colleagues Weli and I worked on Umjolo. First time I saw my name in credits. We worked on Umjolo. So it was wonderful because they involved us from the script stage. In fact, it started out, what was supposed to be a film, and then they changed it, said, let's do it as a series because there's so many stories to tell. And because they involved us from the beginning, we were the ones who were able to advise them on all the music, help them source all the music. We were able to help them source composers like Musyoka to come on and compose music, original music for the show and the like. And the music supervisor is also a great person for artists to know because, yeah, they can be able to plug your music if you know any. Yeah, so that's something I'd love to see develop in our region. Music supervision. Maybe with time it's going to grow because also the music supervisor helps other music users like the brands, the corporates, the agencies understand the importance and the place of music and musicians and artists.
Okay, so we're talking about long-term revenue, and you're someone who, from where you sit, you've been on both sides, you've produced artists back then when music streaming wasn't even a thing, and then now we've transitioned to music streaming. And now the industry is also moving fast into making music for TV and film. So if you look at the revenue artists can potentially make from streaming music, just from traditional avenues and licensing your music for TV and film, how do you compare and contrast?
For streaming, I would say it's consistent. It's not a lot, but it's consistent. It's something you can plan around. With licensing, it's pretty much a potluck situation. For example, When Chahale was used in Nairobi, Chahale is one of my most licensed songs. I think it's on 3 or 4 films. I've made more money from the licensing, like ridiculously more than the streaming side. The stream is there, yes, but it's just slow but consistent. With licensing, that song is an outlier. There are other songs that are just licensed like once and, it's gone. Yes, the checks are usually bigger when it comes to licensing, but the streams are consistent and it's always there over time.
Thank you.
My name is JB. I remember there was a case a couple of years back in the US where there was a case about, I think it was Taylor Swift, if I'm not wrong. It was a copyright infringement, and I think it was on a song that had copied the progression. I think Musyoka could understand. So it's basically chords, the chords of a song. And they were arguing in court that represented the arrangement of the song, and they called it a copyright infringement. And, something like chords, for those of us who have an understanding of music, if I come and play on guitar 6, 4, and 5, and then somebody else plays that, you cannot copyright chords because it's a basic understanding of music. And my question is, where do you draw the line with copyright? Because I feel sometimes it can get to a point where it infringes on somebody's creativity. Because if I was writing a song that sounded similar because it had the same chord, and then I saw that court case, wouldn't I now be scared of releasing it because I fear that it might undergo a copyright infringement? So that's one. And then my second one, it's not really a question, just something I'm putting out there. So I'm a person who's big on tech and AI and all these things. Now that we have AI is mainstream and common stream, and we also have these things of machine learning, and I heard you guys talk about monitoring systems. I'm like, in fact, it just hit me like a light bulb. I'm like, why are we struggling with identifying artist songs on radio and we have AI for things like that? So how much is the adoption of such technologies and such knowledge in helping to track the work that artists do and getting the money for them? Yeah, thank you so much.
Since I was mentioned adversely, the song you're talking about is Robin Thicke versus Marvin Gaye. So the way the judgment was done was based on the feel of the song. Yes, you cannot copyright chords. I mean, there are literally only 12 keys that you can work with. But when you listen to those two songs, there was very clear evidence, the percussive progression, the tempo of the song. They looked at all those things, not just the chords. They are very, very, very similar. And to add on to that case, there was a witness who mentioned that when they were creating the Robin Thicke song, they were jamming to the Marvin Gaye song. So there was clear inspiration from that song. Yeah. So, and that's why they lost, because even when you listen to those songs, I mean, I don't even know why that case went to court. It was just two record labels fighting, just flexing. But it's very obvious that this song had been inspired adversely by this other song. You can get inspiration, but don't copy the progression, don't copy it was a very big case. It was a monumental case to the timbre of the cowbells. That's how detailed that case was, yeah. So it was a monumental case in terms of fighting copyright infringements, and that's why they lost. So you cannot copyright chords. If you get inspired by a song, try and put your own twist. And I mean, music is very weird. All the music in the world you've had, it's just those 12 notes. So it's you to be creative in how you adapt it, in how you change the tone, in how you change the pitch, and how, just be creative about how you do your things. The other issue about AI is becoming very big in the music space, and the 3 major labels, I think there's a suit they won, and you cannot copyright anything reproduced by AI. I don't know if you're aware of that as of 2-3 weeks ago. So one to you, even if you go and use AI to create something, you cannot copyright it. When you're talking about in terms of monitoring, we don't need AI to do monitoring. Monitoring has been there for eternity. I don't know if you've heard of something called BMAT. BMAT is the biggest monitoring organization. It's the same system that Shazam uses. So AI is not going to really, really solve anything about monitoring, because it's been proven that it works without AI. The only place AI is really infringing in music is deriving works from other people and compiling and creating a new piece of work. And the reason why the big labels, even I personally, why would I fight AI? because people are using AI to cheat algorithm in streaming sites. I don't know if you've heard of the case of a guy who created, is it 11,000 songs? The guy has raked almost $8 million using AI. So it's being exploited badly.
Copyright grants ownership, and the ownership is attributed to a person, which is a natural person, or a legal person, which could be a company. Even inventions with patents, they are attributed to a person. And so, let me say with IP and AI, we are saying if this creator is not a person, we cannot grant the rights to that creator. It needs to be a person, yeah? So with AI and copyright, Apple, you will not be granted copyright because you cannot grant AI the copyright.
Actually, the language they use was, it's not an intrinsic talent. It's learning and compiling and infringing on other people's rights because it's learning. That's not its intrinsic talent.
With infringement, you said, where do you draw the line? With copyright, as long as I'm able to prove that you have copied either the words or the melody, then hapo utakuwa na shida. You know, genres like reggae. Reggae usually sounds almost the same to me, you know. Killer reggae song almost sounds the same, but they're different songs. If you sit down and listen to it, it's a different song. It's different words. It's a different melody, so to speak. But the genre is the same. If you listen to country music, it's a genre that almost sounds the same. If you listen to genge, but if you listen to every single song, they're different. So if you're able to prove that I was just not drawing inspiration, but also basically just copying this thing, there you'll definitely have an infringement issue.
Yeah, and globally, they're experts. I can't remember what they're called, and that's their work. They're called in infringement cases. They're able to listen, like the case Musyoka was talking about. They're able to take apart a song and they can be able to tell part by part. They can be able to tell and be able to give the ruling that this was an infringement or not. And then just to answer, maybe to add on, Anyiko had asked me earlier if there are AI tools that are helping in the music licensing, making music licensing easier, or just helping in the music industry, other than the adverse ones where it's just people like making music and it's just deriving from other people's talent. For us, there've been some tools that have been created and we've been testing them out, but they're mostly for large organizations like publishers and labels. So what they do, they're like a database of music. So you're able to put in all your music there, and then it's like a search engine, a search tool. So what happens is you find like Share Publishing has a huge body of work. We have so many artists. You find when you're doing a search for a project, for maybe a film, and they're looking for a particular type of music, most of the time you'll remember what is at the top of your mind. There are artists you'll completely forget. So a tool like this, you just need to put in certain keywords. They've made it so sensitive to just even the littlest thing. So it's able to bring out anything you're looking for. We tested it out. We had gotten a request from a production company in the US. They were looking for an African song that had sounded particularly some very jazz, but African jazz with the drum beat, something like that. And we'd actually been thinking about it. We couldn't come up with anything like that. The songs we submitted, they actually rejected. And then we're like, hey, we're testing out this tool. Let's try it out. So we put the information into the tool, and the songs they brought out first are artists we didn't even know we had. I know it gets like that sometimes because there are so many. Some artists we didn't know they had, and they picked the song. It was licensed. And we would never in a million years have picked that song or remember that artist. So for us, yes, there's an upside. There's some tools that are coming that are useful.
Sharon, I want to ask you something. I'm just thinking as an outsider, like if I'm a creative, I'm a producer from around Africa, or even a global producer, and I'm like, I like that country, Kenya, or I like that sound, and I'm looking for some music to license for my film or whatever. And you talked about the database not really going back beyond 2000. How can that be corrected? Because I know, for instance, an organization like the Book Bank, they've been very big in digitizing content, literally work from the libraries. it's been a very tedious process, but they've digitized a lot of work. So it is possible to digitize the work, because I'm thinking 2000 is just the other day. So it would be also nice for this kind of database to be available, not just for Kenyans, but for other people from around Kenya. If I'm a Kenyan, I'm like, I'll find out where I can get details about Daudi Kabaka, but someone else from somewhere, like from America, where will they even start looking for certain artists? So it's a bit tricky in terms of how our music can be easily discoverable from the outside world, even for agencies like Share Publishing. Like if you're researching, what database do you have?
Okay, remember, we grant copyright when you apply, so we also are obligated to do data protection. So even our database can only tell you the name of the song and the owner. You cannot access the song. We don't put the song there that you can listen. We only, if you searched into our database, say Gloria Muliro, you'll be able to see the songs that will come that she has registered with us. So one of the big challenges is that registration is voluntary. It's not a must. So it is upon the artist to decide that they want to register. So that means that not everybody has registered, and you cannot force them, and it's not against the law. So that is one of the challenges. The other challenge, of course, is that initially we were doing this registration manually. First of all, Kekobo started around 2006, maybe. That is when Kekobo was born, so to speak. So by the time we started registration, it's just around that time. So that means even if I was looking for any data, it wouldn't go beyond that time. It would start there. So when we started, registration was manual. You come and do an application, we give you a certificate manually. Then it reached a point now we went digital. So even if I was to sit down and put the manual records into the digital platform, it still would not go beyond 2006. You see, so I will still not have beyond Daudi Kabaka and whoever. I wouldn't have that data unless the people who now benefit from the copyright decide to come and register it on our platform. So that's why I say that database, it wouldn't give you like old data, and still it will only give you a name. This is the name of the song, this is the owner, that's it. Because of data protection, we are not allowed to put that song there. We will not put the song there because we are not marketing, we're not distributing, we're not publishing, we are just registering copyright. So that's the difference with the kind of database that we have. So the limited information you'll get, Anyiko, that is the name, that is the song she sang, that's it. But you would not even be able to access that song.
So we live in an era where most artists use downloaded beats, or even they lease beats from other producers in YouTube, and they use it to record their songs. When they do that, can they copyright the songs? And the second question also deals with copyright. When another artist uses, like, say, a line from a different artist, it can be even like one line or two lines. Can it be counted as copyright infringement? Then the third one deals with publishing. So how much does it cost for me to publish my songs? And does the publishing company work like other distribution companies like DistroKid, where I have to renew like my songs yearly?
If you use any beats from somebody that you have not asked for permission for or licensed, that is definitely an infringement. You talked about using a line. It's still an infringement. You have taken somebody's line, but you've added your own things, yeah? It is still an infringement. You still need permission to use that line or a license to use that line. So it would be best to approach the person and say, I want to include your line in my song. That doesn't mean that your song that you have created is not a copyrightable work. It still is. But you have infringed on somebody else's copyright to create yours. So you'll definitely get into trouble with that person.
I can defend him. I think he's a rapper.
Oh, okay.
You're a rapper, right?
Okay.
Sharon, let me educate you.
Let me think about, when you're talking about rapping.
In the rap world.
My question would be, Am I using a line that is well known and well recognizable and can be attributed to a song whenever somebody just hears it? Because you're not barring people, for example, from using the words Anguka Nayo. You get? Like there's an Anguka Nayo song, but that does not mean that we are all bad from using those two words. You can never use Anguka Nayo. No. I can always use those words in my whole song. But the moment my song goes like Anguka Nayo with the same, melody and the same, that's the problem. But it's not about the words and the idea of Anguka Nayo that you're being bad from. No. You're not being bad from using the idea or certain words. You cannot say, mimi ndio nilianzisha Anguka Nayo. Those are just Swahili words that anybody could use, yeah? But the moment I am repeating that phrase in a manner to suggest that I've actually picked this Anguka Nayo song, that will be a problem.
In the rap world, there's something we call paying homage. And you kind of get a free pass by biting somebody's lines. It's a sign of respect. Like, you appreciated those lines. They mean something to you. So in the rap world, you can get away with that. I mean, big rap artists always bite from other big rap artists. But it's a respect. You will not go to court because you've taken Biggie's lines. In the rap world, it's a bit forgiving because of just paying respect. In the singing world, otherwise, it's a totally different ballgame. I'm sure you've watched Cisco's Thong Song documentary, Living La Vida Loca. They were sued for just saying that word by Ricky Martin. Yeah. It depends on the genre of music and the culture within that genre of music. So sometimes it's excusable. In the singing world, not so much. In the rap world, you can get a free pass with it. The issue about type beats online, when you look at most of those licenses, they allow you to rap on the song but not commercialize it. By commercializing means you cannot sell it on a streaming platform and claim that it's yours. You can load it onto YouTube, and the moment you load it onto YouTube, immediately you try monetize it, it refuses. Because what these guys do, when I create a type beat and I load it onto YouTube, I will claim it as my copyright. And instantly YouTube applies their DRM protection for that. So anybody tries to grab it, it will just refer to me. But if you pay a certain license fee, he allows you and gives you amount of streams that you can do with it. Sometimes if you check their agreements, if you do an exclusive, you'll find that maybe they sell the song for $1,000. You can exclusively use it. So what does he do? He goes to the back end and deactivates the DRM protection. Then you're able to use the song and commercialize it, but still give him a split of his publishing share on the tracks.
Musyoka, I like what you brought in about commercializing. The idea with copyright infringement is that you're using something without permission, especially for commercial purposes. So if you're using something for private, what we call private use, I'm playing a song in my car, I'm, copying a book to use for me to read, then that is not infringement. But the moment you want to commercialize, that is where infringement usually would come in. So you need to know what you're doing with that thing. Maybe unajitengenezea tu karap kwa hao, uko sawa. But the moment you want to go online and commercialize, then you'll have a problem.
Publishing is not distributing. Distributing music is putting it up on the platforms and then making them live for streaming. And we don't distribute. We don't do distribution. We just do publishing. Publishing, we protect your copyright and collect your royalties wherever they are due. And the agreements are usually typically 3 to 5 years. Why at least 3 years is because it takes at least 18 months before you can start seeing royalties come in. So it would make sense to sign a 1-year deal for publishing. So at least 3 years for it to make sense.
Please let me educate you guys. You're being scammed. I know where the word publishing has seen it. In DistroKid, CD Baby, all this online platform, you'll see distribute your music, and then there's a publishing thing they want to give you. If you are listening carefully, Sharon talked about something called orphaned works. What these companies are doing, because the CMOs in those foreign territories are required to submit publishing splits and mechanical and publishing royalties, they will come and tell you, we are going to collect for you your publishing share. But one thing they're not telling you is join a CMO. Where are they going to pay those publishing? Where are they paying them? It's bullshit. They're just pocketing that money. So please, when you see DistroKid advertising and telling you we'll collect your publishing, they've just legally allowed themselves to collect orphaned works. Please be aware. You're surprised.
I am surprised.
That's why you'll always see DistroKid publishing, sign up with our publishing, but they never give you publishing splits. They just give you a revenue collection. So you are legally signing off your publishing share because they're collecting for you in foreign territories. They're foreign companies. Because of the legal requirements in those foreign countries like US and the UK and Sweden to submit mechanical and publishing. They know we have 1 million songs from Africa. Nobody's going to follow up. There's a number. The moment you sign up with the CMO, there's a number you're supposed to be given. Nobody has that number. MCSK doesn't give that number. You only get that number from ASCAP, BMI, IMRO, SAMRO. If you don't have that number, my friend, and you've signed up for publishing with CD Baby, DistroKid, and all these bullshit DSPs, they are robbing you. You are legally giving them the mandate to collect extra money. And that's how they're surviving. Now you know.
Good evening. Like you said with the Whitney Houston example, she sang the song and I Will Always Love You and all that, Sindio. And now coming back home to Kenya, we have the genre urban tone, Sindio. And most of the time, they tend to sample from, older songs, particularly older Caribbean songs. So is that copyright infringement? Is that a cover song? How do they even get paid?
I think Musyoka is better place to talk about beats and sampling.
I found the number.
Question.
It's called a CAE IPI number. Yeah, IPI number. CAE stands for Composer, Author, Publisher, while IPI stands for Interested Party Information. So it's usually abbreviated as CAE/IPI number. If you don't have that number...
This is the number you give to all CMOs from whatever region.
Publisher.
You give this to publishers or to the CMOs?
Publisher. The number is driven by CMOs. Yeah.
To answer the question you're asking, that's called sampling, right? And then when Sharon mentioned the different licenses, so there are sample licenses. A lot of publishers also clear samples. And so you need to clear the sample. A lot of the time it won't cost you anything, but you need to clear it. You might say it's a Caribbean beat from Owoko, but then if you blow and you're monetizing your song, it becomes big or you're a big artist, then they start checking you out, they find that song, they'll come for you. Maybe 10 years, they'll come for you. So you need to clear the sample. It's called a sample clearance, a sample license. You need to get a sample license to sample the song. There are those, if it's a bigger act, they might require you to pay, but most artists they're easy. They just want to know, they want to hear what you want to do with the sample, with that part of the song. They kind of want to hear what you're working on, and then most of them will be easy. And yeah, you might think because you're here, they're out there, they don't know. There's request that came to sample us out his old song from Denmark, and we gave it. So they were very cool about it. But then how it works is the best thing to do, because even if someone can come and ask sample your song, what we advise is you don't make it difficult. You may not even ask for money, but maybe ask for a share and ask for credit.
One of the other reasons that the owner needs to be aware is because copyright also gives you moral right to your work. The moral right means, one, you must be attributed whenever your work is used. Two, you can object to your work being used in a manner that you don't want. So, for example, if I am a gospel artist, I probably don't want my song used in a beer advert because maybe I don't subscribe to that and I don't want to be associated with that. So imagine if you didn't ask for permission and you used my song in a beer advert. I may not be objecting to you using the song, but I don't want to be associated with this thing. So I'm also guarding my integrity. That's why she was saying most of the time people just want to know what is the use, what is the extent of the use. And remember, for me as an artist, the use must be in line with my brand and in line with my values. So if you don't ask and you use and it is out of line with this, then that's another bigger problem you have created.
My name is Noella Sidi. I'm a singer-songwriter, music producer, and a psychologist. My question, just going back to sampling, you say ask for permission. What's the process of asking permission? Do you email this person? Do you DM them? Do you talk to their lawyers? What's the process? And then also going back to talking to your producer, you said there's now that's significant. If I work with him as a music producer, I give him my lyrics, I give him a chord progression. This is what I've come up with. He makes a beat for me, right? Of course, if you remove his beat, my song is just vocals, just words now. So as I've paid him that 25K, as you've insinuated, do I still put him, do I give him his royalties, or that 25K is just one payoff? Now that is my music now, or that's my question.
The first owner of copyright is the creator of the work, the author composer. But if I came to put my voice, my vocals into your song, I'll be the performer. I have a related right. Uwezi kuniacha nje. And also, your song, if you didn't take it to Musyoka to cook it up in the studio, akuweke beats, akuweke nini, it will be very different. It will just be that. But that producer also has put in something, so they also have a related right. The only dynamics that change usually are the percentages of ownership, depending on that payment I was talking about, for example, and the split sheet you agree. But so that they don't have a right, they have a related right. Even a right to be known as the producer. You can't say I produced with Shiko and it was Anyiko. No. Remember, they also have a right. So they also have a right, but then depending on your agreement with them and the dynamics at the takeoff, then that may tilt percentages. But usually I find that most people think that sinilikulipa ukaproduce wimbo tukaachana. But he still did the work.
Yeah.
If you remove the producer's work, is that song the same? No. So you have to think about it like that. But Musyoka can...
I am assuming you're Gen Z. You never saw tapes, vinyls, and CDs. I'm throwing shade. Well, when I was making music, we used to print that information on compact discs. So it was very easy to find out who owned things. So it wasn't left up there. Of course, definitely now we're in a totally different era of the digital streaming and everything. But I would kind of say Spotify is doing an excellent job in putting out metadata for compositions. So, Shiko, you had talked about where you can find all this information. Let me defend the government. It's not their work to store this information. Yeah. It's upon us content creators to catalog our own works and make sure that anybody who wants to use our content, it's available. So it's not Kekobo's work. It's really not Kekobo's work. It's owners of sound recording to catalog their content in a way that it's accessible to the public. And the easiest way is through CMOs. In America or in Europe or in developed nations, when you're looking for anybody who owns any works, you don't go to the government. You go to the CMO. If you fail, because of course now those countries have established systems, so pretty much the music in those countries is controlled by the big labels. The information is pretty much widely available. If our CMOs, the MCSKs, the Camp and Prisks, did their mandate properly, that is where you go to collect this information. Right now, you can go to ASCAP and BMI and search. I know Beyonce is in ASCAP, Dr. Dre, Jay-Z. Just go to ASCAP, their website. You can search for the music there and you'll see all the information. That's the first place you search for. CMOs. Unfortunately, because in Kenya it's not digitized, they are not operating well, you'll encounter that problem. And again, that's where you get a music supervisor like me. I will help you navigate that nonsense because now I understand where to get this music. I'll give you a very good example. You've seen the Tusker advert, Here Is To Us. The one that had the guy running with the bottles and they used Slim Ali's music. How did they get that music? I was a music supervisor for the project. So the owner of the agency, Robert, called me and told me we are looking for this song because I had produced a song for Blinky Bill and Dr. Pizzo, and I had sampled that song. Something for you, ten, 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 ten. He just saw my credit there and he's like, brah, help me clear this song. And that's how Universal Music ended up buying AI records in Kenya, because that's how I connected them. That's why a music supervisor is very important. So stop suffering as a producer. You work on scripts, timelines, and everything. Leave that work to a music supervisor. They will do all that work for you. And that's why when you look at foreign movies, there's always a music supervisor, because you will not find this information in one centralized. Even if you go to Europe, Sweden, Japan, Jamaica, US, you will not type Dr. Dre and everything appears. It doesn't work like that. But because those countries have CMOs and systems that work, it's easier to find this data because, one, it's cataloged. They've literally created the music industry. There's a number called ISRC codes. Have you ever heard of it? Every song has that number. It's assigned for you automatically when you upload it online, whether you know it or don't.
It's a unique identifier for each song.
For each song. The same way every composer has a CAE IPI number, every song has an ISRC code. And these are some of the things we need to fix in our industry. As Anyiko was asking, what are the challenges we encounter? And right now, I'm the chairman of an organization called Recording Industry Association of Kenya, RIKI. That's the stuff we are trying to fix. Make sure that when Shiko wants music, there are music supervisors, CMOs are operating, you just key in database, you'll find all that stuff. So our biggest problem is not that the music is not available. It's just collection of information is not well managed. So it takes you twice the amount of time to research on something, unless now you know the right person who can be of help. The thing for splitting beats. First of all, you need to separate the function of a producer and a composer. When you pay 25,000 bob, you are paying the producer. You've not paid the composer yet. So he'll produce for you the song, but being part of the producer is the person who is also composing the music. Traditionally, a producer's work is to manage the budget, oversee the production process, and deliver a finished product. Who has ever heard of Quincy Jones? He had produced for who? Does he get a single writing royalty? Zilch. But he's the producer. The producer will assemble the musicians, the guitarist, the pianist, the background vocalist. He'll book the studio session. He'll manage the engineers. That's what you're paying for. That's 25,000 bob. You're paying for him to do that work. You're not paying for him to make the beat. His money for making the beat comes from the split sheet. As a composer, he gets his 50%. The other author gets 50%. I mean, you can research on how split sheets work. It's not rocket science. Where producers used to make money is mechanical royalties when the music is sold. So right now, where should producers be getting their money? When you sell your music on Spotify, there's something called a point system. In the US, the average point is about 18, if I'm not wrong. So that 18-point system is split according to how the mechanical royalties are going to be paid out. It's a bit complex. We are not yet there, but if you understand how it works, it's very easy for you. I apply it all the time. With the people I work with, the split sheet, I give my points as a producer. I'm making my money from my mechanicals, and I'm making my money from my composition and publishing as a split. Guys, it's not rocket science. I didn't go to university to learn it. It's all on YouTube.
My name is Christopher. I'm a radio presenter, a DJ, and an artist manager. Now, Kekobo being the licensing body for CMOs in Kenya, and yet we are told by Musyoka that our CMOs don't issue that identifying number. What is so hard with making that work? That's one. Number two, our CMOs have not been working the way they should. And this now goes to sheer publishers. Do we need to register with a different CMO of your recommendation? Or must we register first locally? And in the same breath, do we register our works with Kekobo so that you can function?
So first of all, this is how government institutions work. You are created by an act of parliament, and the act of parliament will give you functions and the mandate. So you can never go out of that function or that mandate. You always have to keep within your function and your mandate, yeah? So the function that we have on CMOs, initially our act just said we supervise and license them to operate. But CMOs, remember, are private institutions, private organizations. They're actually registered as companies limited by guarantee, and they have membership. So those members are the ones that need to have control of CMOs. It's just
please stop beating Kekobo all the time. I wish you understand how this thing works.
It's just that in Kenya, it doesn't work like that. But you are the member of the CMO. What does that mean? You should vote who you want on the board, and then the board should employ who they want. But in Kenya, it doesn't work like that. Why? I don't know. But we cannot interfere in the affairs of a private institution that much. Our work is to license them to collect and distribute royalties. And that has been the bone of contention with them. That copyright regulation has said, out of what you collect, distribute at least 70%. So when they come to ask for a license, somebody distributed 10%. The most I'm able to do is do what? Ni kunyime your license. But I keep telling musicians, and many will complain, but then you ask them, do you attend AGMs? No. Have you ever voted?
I totally agree. The problem is not CMOs. The problem is members.
Yes.
It's squarely the members.
You have never attended AGMs. You have never voted. You have never even given yourself for office. There is a famous gospel musician that I don't want to mention that he kept complaining. And one time I said, offer yourself to the board. Get inside and make the change from inside. He never did. He doesn't want to be associated because it's murky. But who will make the change? But I can't blame musicians totally because part of what they do, I call it state capture. They will not call for AGMs when the AGMs are due. And even when they call for AGMs, they will find a way of controlling the elections. But ideally, members should control these institutions. You should vote who you want to be on the board, and then the board can fire the management. How is it that you have an institution where the board cannot fire the management? For us in government, that's how it works. If I'm not delivering as a CEO, my board will sit down. By there, you have performance contracts you sign. And if you have not delivered, you have to answer for it. And the board can say, this CEO is not working you out. So even CMOs, I keep telling you, it is you, the member, that is going to make the difference. Kekobo will not make the difference for you. The second thing I want to say is that copyright is intellectual property, okay? So once you have bought your shamba, my friend, and you've built your house, you can't keep blaming the government that amuku niwekea fence, amuku niwekea grill kwa hii nyumba. You do that yourself. That doesn't mean that thugs may not come. They may come. So what has the government done? They have given you criminal laws that you can deal with. That thugs came into my house despite the fact that I put a fence and I put a grill and I put a whatever. And that's the same thing you need to do with your intellectual property and your copyright. You are the one to be vigilant, to put measures in place. For example, we're talking about online. A lot of you put your stuff online with no TPMs, no digital rights management, nothing. And then you say, ilibiwa. Ulijenga nyumba, ukakosa kuweka fence, ukakosa kuweka gate, na hukuweka hata mlango. Alafu ukanunua sofa set ya 200k ukaweka hapo, ukaenda. Will you find it? No. Ulinunua gari ukaenda tao, in the middle of tao. Ukaweka madirisha chini na ukaacha kifunguo hapo. 1 hour later ilikuwa imefika na manga. Sijui it was flying. Who are you going to complain to? Even as a rights holder, this is a personal property that you need to be vigilant about and you need to protect. So even as an individual, you must protect your property. But Musyoka, with the CMO, what happens?
I mean, maybe let me just simplify what Sharon is explaining. When you register with Kekobo your copyright, it's a legal protective mechanism. It has nothing to do with royalty collection. It has nothing to do with you selling it. It's just proving that you have it. Have you heard of something called the Congress of National Library? In America, when you want to protect your music, what do? You mail the song yourself and register it to the National Library Congress. It's equivalent of registering your song with Kekobo. So don't think when you register with Kekobo, it has anything to do with CMO and publishing. Nothing. You need to understand those are two very different, separate entities. When you become a member of a CMO, you register your song with a CMO to enable them collect royalties for you. That is not copyright protection. That is your identification for your works as a member. And that's why Sharon is insisting. Registering with Kobo is absolutely free and it's not a must. Do I value my work? Yes. Let me go protect it. Of course, in developed nations like the US and UK and Japan, where a song is literally worth billions, that's why they protect it. Yeah. But here, because you're like, my song is worth nothing, I don't see the point. The day you'll come and be told that song you're dismissing is worth 10 million shillings, I guarantee you will run to Kikobo to register it. That's why we don't register it, because we have not attached any commercial value to our music. When you hear Kanye West catalog is worth $1 billion, it is registered in Congress of Library to just protect the economical commercial value of that work. That's why they protect them. So if you value your works, you do that. Of course, I understand in our market, we don't see those kind of numbers, because in a place like the US, you can literally go with one song to the bank and collect a loan. You know that, because it has some commercial value to it. And that's why it is protected in the National Library Congress. That's why it's vital in the US to do that, simply because of how much that one single song, a song can change your life. I guess we've not reached that point whereby we see the need, because for me, even if somebody steals Weka Weka, what can they do with it? Yeah. So of course I'll dismiss it because I don't see the economical value of it. Yeah. But the moment our industry grows and gets to that point, I can guarantee you the biggest artist, Nyashinsky, will be leaving the studio and running to Kekobo to make sure he has a title deed for that song, so that nobody else can lay claim to it. Yeah. So I think you need to understand those two differences.
So we have an act called the Movable Properties Securities Act, which has now recognized intellectual property as collateral that can be used for a loan. And I know there's a time the youth fund was giving loans to youth, and they were asking you for a copyright registration certificate, yeah? If you're saying, I am a musician, yeah? So don't worry, we are getting there. It's a dream, Musyoka, that we are getting at. At least the law is in place. Practically, sijajua ile bank itakupea pesa. But yeah, we'll get there.
My name is Omzlo Montana from Mombasa. Nikuja na timu yangu hapa hivi, ya producer, Grandmaster Tech na manager yangu hapa hivi usio. So first and foremost, mazee, big shout out to you, mazee Musyoka. Wewe ni mentor, mazee, wewe ni living Anyiko. Big shout out to you usio. Tapiga selfie na tukitoka hapo usio. Alafu so, nikotaka kuuliza tu, kuna swali huo najiuliza vibaya sana, sijaipata jibu. Mimi ni Mkenya na sijai kula royalty ya national anthem. Lakini iko pale kwa digital platform. Nani ana own royalties ya national anthem ya Kenya jamani?
Government. It's a government asset.
How?
It's a government asset. It was commissioned by the government.
So, hao wanakula royalties?
No, it's a government asset. It's part of the government tools like the coat of arms and the flag. So, but I'm aware that the composers were very well compensated, because I know of the Kibukosias, that was long money, my friend. Yeah, they were very well paid. That one I can tell you for free. The Kibukosias ate that money for generations. But it's a government property, like the flag, the coat of arms. Yeah.
Next.
Hi. Hello. My name is Candy, and I'm an artist manager. I wanted to give a comment on the issue of the database being available. I don't think it's a Kekobo thing, but now that I'm looking at it, I feel like it should be under PPMC, because it's mandated to focus on the development of Kenyan music industry and preservation of musical arts and expression.
I disagree.
Why not?
Because music is a private business.
So when it comes to
private and commercial exploitation by government agency.
Not for commercial use, but for the database to be there.
Still.
For information, you're preserving information.
Still.
Yeah, okay. And then my
question. If you
question,
understand music business, you'll know where I'm coming from.
I think I'll see you in my attendant for that.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Phil, and my question is directed to Musyoka. It's about the CAE number. Who collects your royalties and all those things? Who gives you the money and that number?
I came with my boss lady.
So you are not with any of the...
No, but the CAE number, I got it myself. because I realize MCSK and our CMOs here, okay, it's not that they don't want to give you the number. There's an organization that all these CMOs belong to. CSAC. Yes. CSAC mandates them to provide that number. But I don't think we have proper arrangements with CSAC to be able to get that CAE number. So when I realized that I don't have that number, I did a project for the BBC around 2009, 2010 there. I was supposed to be collecting royalties, but when I was asked for that number, I didn't have it. I told them I'm a member of MCSK. They asked me for my CAE, IPI number. I didn't have it. So the producer who was working on that project, she helped me connect to IMRO. So it's through IMRO that I managed to get my CAE, IPI number. And that's how I learned how that system operates. So you can register now. It's free for everyone. Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I'm George Ndambuki. I'm an entrepreneur, a platform where I host musicians in my store. Just like I'm sure all of you know NPR Tiny Desk concerts. So it's something like that. We're trying to recreate it or make it a Kenyan version.
And your shop is called?
It's called Unique Stationery. So my question is, in such a case, if we, for example, host Musyoka in my shop, who owns the copyright of whatever we'll share on YouTube? Because we share everything on YouTube.
Is it a song that I'm going to perform?
Yes.
Okay, pretty much you do, but you cannot commercialize that song from me. Okay, I'll give you a good example. If somebody performs on Jimmy Kimmel's show, the audiovisual works is owned by the production house that put up that product. But if they want to go and sell that song, maybe as a compilation together with a video, they will have to get a license from the performer. Yeah.
But as I finish off, since we can still monetize on YouTube,
yes,
does the artist deserve...
If you're monetizing your version...
No, I'm monetizing just the video that we've shared on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can lay claim to that.
So that is owned entirely by
the production house.
My name is Kitikai. I am an artist, and my question is to you, Musyoka. I have a lot of questions, but I wanted to know how I can reach out to you, where you're located, on your free time.
Well, I don't have free time because my wife is waiting for me right now.
And kids.
My wife and kids are waiting for me. So unless you're asking me about mangoes and goats, that's free time. But anything to do with music, that I'm working. Yeah, so my email is, you can get me on decimal@decimal.co.ke. Please don't DM me on Instagram. Yeah. That one, I guarantee you'll be blue ticked.
And I think the last question from this side.
Hi, my name is Ahmed. I'm a brand designer, but I do a lot of work with music industry. This is not a question about copyright, but a question about arts in general. A painter would take another painter's idea, draw it in the same way, maybe change the shading or whatever. A photographer would take someone else's editing style and try and copy it on his photos. Even a software engineer would take the code that he sees on a website that he likes, copy it, change it a bit, and build a website with his new code. There's almost like a shared understanding in like the visual arts and other creative areas that everything is built on something else. But music, there's this somehow desire that you have to ask permission. Not only you have to ask permission, but in some cases it's illegal. But I guess my question is, why is that? Is it because music, there's a framework or a system where artists can be attributed like royalties and stuff? Or is it just like a artist spirit thing? Why is sound exempt from the laws of creativity?
Okay, first of all, let me answer the one on copyright. Then you answer the one on music. I don't know why you assume it is correct for an artist to copy another artist's painting. It is not correct. It is against copyright laws. If you're sure that your work has been copied and altered, you have a right to complain. The only difference is that there's something in copyright we call the idea-expression dichotomy, which is that we don't copyright ideas. So if we have an idea today of standing on the rooftop of Goethe Institute and taking a photo of Nairobi, that's the idea. It is not copyrightable. What will be copyrightable will be individual photos taken by individual people. If we have an idea of painting an apple, put it here, everyone do your painting. That's the idea. The idea is not copyrightable. What will be copyrightable is the individual paintings. So that means we don't copyright ideas of, you'll never think of writing a love book because I thought about it first. No. Anybody can write a love book. Copyright protects your expression of that idea, how you express it. And the idea, the way you said it, is that we build and we get inspiration from other people's works and other ideas, common ideas. But what copyright protects is your unique expression. And I can tell you for free, if you watch TV and there's an accident and you have 3 witnesses, they all tell the story in a different way, but it's the same story. If I told you the story, I'd probably be more interesting than Musyoka. And he'll probably tell you, Gari iligonga mtu akakufa, that's a man for you. I will tell you what the person was wearing, which angle the car came from. The story is the same. The car came, it hit the guy died. The way we tell it is different. So copyright protects your expression of the idea. And regardless of the category of copyright, it is not correct to copy another person's exact thing and alter it. That is not correct.
She has told you the truth, but I'll tell you the political side of it. Thanks to Universal Music, Sony, and Warner, it's just the kind of laws that were established when the music industry was being set up. It's that simple. That's the political side of it. Okay. Just study the history of music, the history of reproduced music. Then you'll understand why it's very difficult and why that question you've raised is very specific to music. Because apart from painting, it's one of the oldest art forms that came around when intellectual property was being implemented, especially with print music. So they had to write laws that could protect them properly. And those laws have been passed on from generation to generation, nation to nation, adopted, ratified, and, it's become a convoluted mess, which works to our advantage anyway. I'm not complaining.
In case you have more questions and you want to write and ask, S. Chahale, is CHAHALE, at copyright.go.ke. You can also send to info@copyright.go.ke. Yes? You can also visit our office at Shah Building, Oma NHIF, 5th floor, or call. If you Google our numbers, you can call. We are everywhere on X, LinkedIn, TikTok. Me, I'm not there personally, but Kekombo is there. Instagram, YouTube. Yeah, you can always reach us there. If you call the office and you want to specifically speak to me, call and ask for me. If you need any legal person, call and ask for any legal who can help you. Utasaidika for free.
And if you're interested in publishing or you have any questions on publishing, mine is Shiro at share.co.za, Shiro with CHIRO, and Share is SHEER.co.za. You can also just check out the website, Share, www.sharepublishing.co.za.
So thank you so much. It's been so amazing. I wish we could continue, but this actually can tell you how much more there is to learn, there is to exchange, and to endelea na hizi conversation. I don't even feel like this is the end of this discussion on music licensing. We need another edition to continue this. Anyway, put your hands together for Sharon Chahale from Kenya Copyright Board, Shiro Mwendwa from Share Publishing, Eric Musyoka from Decimal Records, Gote Institute for giving us this space and supporting this talk series. Put your hands together for yourselves, our lovely audience. Thank you so much for staying with us until the end of this episode. It's been an amazing conversation. I've personally learned so much about how to license your music for ads, TV, and film. I hope somebody listening also has learned a lot. If you're serious about unlocking new revenue streams, building longevity, and ensuring your music works for you long after release day, this is definitely your episode. Thank you so much, Shiro Mwendwa, Eric Musyoka, and Sharon Chahale Wata from the Kenya Copyright Board. Thank you so much to the Kenya Copyright Board for partnering with Industry Talks and the Gote Institute for this specific edition of our discussions. And I'm also thankful to the officers who are on ground to help the creatives who are in the building to register their copyright. In case you'd like to know more about how to register your copyright or how to resolve any disputes that you're having, or how to come out of a contract you signed and you don't know how to get out of it, you can reach out to the Kenya Copyright Board. They actually give free, fast consultations. Imagine that, guys. I also didn't know that, but that's what the Industry Talks is about. Every day we learn, every day we network, every day we exchange and get to know who is running what aspect of the industry. That's where we're going to end the show this week. In case you have any feedback for us, please go on to my social media, Anyiko Owoko. We are also on Industry Talks, Anyiko TV, and of course, Gote Institute. Until then, see you next week. Ciao, ciao.
VIP Access Season 5 is proudly supported by the Gote Institute, Nairobi.